Underneath it all, it seems like the ocean is always calling me. Like there's something there that is demanding my attention. I really think very little of all the things that I occurred from the day I stood high above the ocean, listening to the sounds, the chattering of birds as they flew by. So much had happened. So much still does happen. Whether the day will come when I finally rest, I'll never know the exact reason why I would come to a rest, or what would be there waiting for me after I do. So shortly after I've chosen my route, it was like knowing something. Many different little things coming together and finally fulfilling the rest of my story. Not as separate pieces, but as a whole. Every little piece decided to find its way home again. The way it was so easy to take other people's lives or to deem certain lives less valuable than my own. I sought no pity when I put my uniform on the pedestal at the top. I sought nothing more than a way out, to pursue everything I just couldn't have because of the life I've lived. But it became obvious after the ivory tower that things would either return back to normal because I hadn't changed, or I would come to really acknowledge the things I've done and choose to live a life that is everything that I want rather than what I've done or in the shadow of what I've done. So after the connection, I decided to head back to the ocean, listen to the sounds of the rushing waves, and really just be there again, away from the rest of everything else that was going on. But less in the desire or the ability to escape. More and more of it became an awareness that there was something there, something about the ocean that I hadn't quite understood before. Why would the ivory tower sound like ocean? Why would I be drawn to the ocean? Why would I be able to ascend the ivory tower if the two things weren't connected? And though, in some way, I had found the answers I was looking for, there's just something's eluded me. Even those cubes came back after I stood at the water for a while. And as I looked down, something about it became more clear. Something I could understand. Something I could figure out. It was like I was split in two, just as much as the ocean isn't just the surface, it's also the bottom. Such things as riptides that could seriously harm people if you fall beneath the waves. And if they take you down, then they could make sure that you never get up again. Much like putting on that uniform, following those orders, that was the riptide. And no matter what, I never leave the ocean. Even though I'm here now, the ocean has never left me. It's still all I can think about. It's everything that I believe in. Because I know for a fact that even at the end of the day, that ivory tower, it more got me in tune with the ocean and everything that it had to offer, which made it even more enticing to jump into it. So that still wouldn't answer everything, even if I did become one with it by joining it. So once those cubes came back, they seemed to have taken up more space before I was actually able to see them migrate from one side of my vision to the other. They made me very aware that the pieces that were here at the ocean I stood over days before, months before, were just one big piece I was less aware of. Maybe I didn't want to be aware of it. Maybe it was all just so familiar and so welcoming that I decided that it was worth my time to just stand there and look over it and just use it as background noise rather than actually being aware of what it was that brought me there in the first place. Why the sound of it in the ivory tower stuck with me even after I left many different times before when I visited that tower. When I walk around in the street now, all I see is faces, but it's almost like they recognize me but don't recognize me at the same time. Kind of like a surprise, like I shouldn't be there, or that I even appeared before them at all. It's gotten harder to know anything, whether something is happening or nothing is happening, and I just really want there to be something when there's nothing. Because there can be absolutely nothing that's going on right now. It could all be just in my head. But that's just a safer way of looking at it. That makes everything that happened before, everything that is still happening, okay. Though something about the cubes being near the ocean, it doesn't set me off as much as it did when it was with me after visiting the tower. Every last bit of this is so much more comfortable, if I can call it comfortable. Though in its own way, it's also frustrating. It always seems to be frustrating. Though I approach that ocean, and I took my time to see exactly where most of the cubes end up going when they zigzag across my vision. And I found there's like a concentration the closer I get to an area that actually accesses a beach. Well, somewhat of a beach. Most of it tends to stay underwater because the tide stays high for quite some time here. But when it does go down, it goes down for at least a month. And that's where the cubes seem to be gathered. And it gets real dark there. Like, not that it's nighttime or anything, but it's more like, what's the best way to put it? My vision gets dark. Like, being able to see life, interact with it, and everything else just becomes a blank. A dark spot. No light, no life, no nothing. The closer I get to where the cubes gather. Because the cubes go from pure white to black upon approach. So it's like I have a choice. I either could never go near the ocean again and be tempted to go there to the spot, or I could go there and pass through it, see what happens. I would say it's harder to make the choice. But it's actually very easy to make that choice. I'm more prepared to step in to that space now more than anything. I just figured I might as well leave a recording behind just in case. Just in case there's nothing after this or something, just like the ivory tower. I don't know what comes next. And the individual that I spoke to who wanted to get back at the victims that myself and that he and all the superiors of his rank had caused to the people was found murdered. In a very brutal fashion. And it was right outside the ivory tower. They say it was murder because there was no way that he could have fallen from a height that would allow for a majority of his bones to have been broken. Though the spot did seem like it was containing every last bit of what occurred. So they questioned people in the area, and that's an ongoing investigation. So either he tried the tower and failed, or there's somebody out there who's capable of such ferocity and killed him. Either way, there is either going to be more murders, similar incidences, where everything goes quiet. And I had no love for that man. And even as I saw the picture that they took and put in the paper, I had no remorse. More of a good riddance. He was an individual that would never stop, even if you paid him to. He would consistently be the kind of person who would take it out on everybody. And even if he was wrong, he would never admit to it. Suspiciously, a lot of his platoon that he specifically had given orders to, charge of, have gone missing over the past week. Don't know if it has anything to do with the ivory tower. Don't know if it has anything to do with these cubes. Honestly, I don't know what it has to do with anything. Just his image in the paper, the reports are, and everything that has been going on with this individual may lead to it being an open and shut case if they find out how the ivory tower works, or even if there's the potential that it's somehow, at least in his case, I'm not so sure about his platoon. His cadets. No love lost there. Even though some of them were good people, they all had their bent towards following orders, but less in the fact that they wanted to follow orders as much as they were allowed to appear like their hands were bound and they had no choice. And they always pleaded that, even after everything was uncovered and a majority of files were leaked, they still insisted that all they were doing was following orders. So them going missing isn't necessarily a bad thing. So when it comes to, in light of everything that's happened, things have just been strange. Like a sensation of that undercurrent, that riptide. It could just tear you apart if you drop too low. Seems to have been at work and gathering all those people who could be considered bottom feeders, working against the interest of people who have something or are striving for something, just dragging them down and destroying them. I haven't heard anything about my platoon. I haven't heard anything about the higher-ups aside from him. Truly nothing was said. But either way, oblivion awaits. I'm either going to step in with both feet or chicken out and die through some abnormal circumstance or disappear. That's been the feeling I've been getting. Either I commit or the choice will be made without me. So we'll see what happens. Whether I'll be here, another video, an update, or I'm just undone. We'll see. We'll see what the ocean is calling me for.